This is Christmas Day, 1968, Vietnam. They called the dog Ammo Can because, with a steady diet of leftover sea rats and mess hall scraps, he produced an endless supply of weapons-grade shit. He'd wandered into the E-Club a year ago during a severe monsoon and never left. He was 7 parts Asian mongrel and 1 part German Shepherd, thanks to a horny combat tracker attached to the first of the 143rd. He had the face of a Cambodian razorback, the wrinkles of a Shar-Pei, and a missing hind leg. Everyone said he wanted to come over to the American side before the dinks ate the rest of him. Ammo Can lay sleeping on the wooden steps of the mess hall. He was on his back, his single hind leg extended, his 2 front legs curled at the knee. His head hung over the side, resting on a small bit of grass. The wrinkles of his face draped over his closed eyes. 2 Hueys overhead barely drowned out his snores. Hill stopped at the stairs and looked down at the bloated sprawl of fur and wrinkles. "Jesus," he said, "you're worse looking than my last girlfriend." As he climbed the stairs, Ammo Can woke up and pawed the air. He opened his mouth and let out something between a yawn and a soft howl. Hill stopped. The dog arched his back and rolled back on one side, then reached out with his front leg. Hill laughed, bent over, and began scratching the dog's distended belly. Ammo Can immediately rolled to his left, placing Hill's attention to what was known throughout the camp as Ammo's secret spot. The stump of his missing leg began to move. "You like that, huh?" Hill said. He scratched a little lower, and Ammo Can's stump began to pound at an itch he didn't have. He wrapped a paw around Hill's arm. Hill rode him a little faster, and the missing leg pumped harder. Hill laughed again, then squatted down. "Yeah," he said, "you like that." Then slowly, as Hill continued to scratch, a moist pink arrowhead began to emerge from a spur quiver at the base of Ammo Can's stump. Almost imperceptibly, his hips began to move. His paws held tighter onto Hill's arm, his neck arched slightly, and he gazed intently to the far horizon. The stairs began to tremble. He curled his abdomen around to rub against Hill's leg and held on desperately to his arm. "What the fuck?" Hill said. Ammo Can wrapped a paw around Hill's leg. Hill kicked it away. Ammo Can clawed the air with his front paws. Hill looked down. "Ain't gonna happen, motherfucker. Ain't gonna happen." He jerked his leg back. "Fuck no!" Ammo Can growled. He tried to bare his teeth, but he wasn't able to raise the abundant skin around his mouth. "Don't you fucking growl at me," Hill said. "I will whoop your ass." He cocked a leg back to kick the dog, but when Ammo Can started to whimper, Hill eased his leg down. He shook his head. "Why did they keep you around anyway? You're ugly, and you're one sick motherfucker." Ammo Can watched as Hill turned and went into the mess hall. Inside, Hill joined the chow line, eyeing the kitchen as he grabbed an aluminum tray, a knife, fork, and spoon. Moving down the row of steam tables, he got 2 slices of stringy meat that the private and KP swore was roast beef. He took a scoop of mashed potatoes, another corn with lima beans. Dessert was cherry jello. He grabbed a carton of milk and looked for a table. He found an empty spot against the right wall, sat down, and looked at his lunch. "Jesus," he said to himself, "I hope I look better than you when I'm dead." While Hill was trying to saw through his slab of gray meat, Ammo Can slept contentedly on the mess hall stairs, occasionally shifting position, occasionally snoring. Then he slowly raised his head and sniffed the air. He froze for a moment, then sniffed again. With a slight struggle, he got out his good leg under him and stood. He sniffed again, then stepped off the stairs and onto the ground. He paused. Then, in a hopping lope, he rounded the corner of the mess hall and crawled into the sandbagged area where the cook stored food. He lay down between several cases of canned peaches and went to sleep. Hill had given up on the roast beef when he was making lunch out of the corn and lima beans when his screen door burst open. A soldier in faded but clean fatigue shouted, "Ammo Can's in the hole! Ammo Can's in the hole!" Suddenly, everybody jumped out of their seats. Chairs were knocked over and tables slid as they all ran for the door. Hill wasn't sure what was going on, but he'd been in country long enough to know that when there was a stampede, it was best not to be last. Outside, the commotion ran through the camp. Soldiers were shouting and diving for any sandbag hooch. The combo bunker filled up first, followed by S2. Hill jumped into one of the perimeter bunkers just as the first explosions hit. Dust flew as one impact after another shook the ground. Inside the bunker, Hill and the sandbags quivered with each blast. The close air was filled with dust and loud explosions. Each one felt closer than the one before. Then, as fast as it started, it was over. And everyone except Hill seemed to know. Around him, soldiers were standing, brushing off dirt, checking damage. Hill stayed huddled against the side of the sandbagged wall. Then finally, after everything quit for a terrifying eternity, he raised his head and looked around. What the fuck was that all about, he asked. Mortar attack, said the private next to him as he slapped dust from his trousers. Fucking ammo can. He knows, man. He just knows.